I'm a really big fan of indie games. Indie developers bring so much creativity to the table. It's just really important for me to support that. Now, of course, it's impossible for me to play every single one because there's just so many goddamn indie games coming out all the time. There are those big ones that I miss. I've never played Hollow Knight, never played SteamWorld Dig, and I never played Crypt of the Necrodancer. Now, Crypt of the Necrodancer came out in 2015 and was developed by Brace Yourself Games. It's a unique roguelike game that focuses on matching beats to the music in order to fight and move around in the game. Now, I'm not a big fan of roguelike games. I've never been able to get into them. Binding of Isaac, Enter the Gungeon. I just really can't vibe with them, which is honestly kind of sad for me because I would love to really give these games the time they need, but I really can't justify spending 60 hours in order to get that much progress in the game. It's just not something I can do. So when Nintendo came around and said, hey guys, we're partnering with an indie developer to let them make a Legend of Zelda spin-off game, I was all for that because giving indies this opportunity to work with such a big IP is fantastic for Nintendo to do. It's unprecedented for Nintendo to do. And when they were like, hey, Brace Yourself Games is going to be making this game, I was incredibly excited because I knew they made a unique game in Crypt of the Necrodancer. And then they announced the title, Cadence of Hyrule, Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring Legend of Zelda. That brought my hype to a screeching halt. When you say Crypt of the Necrodancer featuring Legend of Zelda, that tells me that you're making a Crypt of the Necrodancer game with the Zelda skin. What you're telling me is you're making a Zelda roguelite, which is not something I was interested in at all. Not that I didn't think that the game would be good, I was sure it would be good. They're fantastic developers, but I just don't vibe with roguelites at all. I knew I'd probably still get it. I knew I'd probably spend 2 to 3 hours with it, play it, enjoy the music, enjoy the unique gameplay, but ultimately not something I could complete at all. So it came out a few days ago. I sat down with it, and what I discovered was that the developers were not only content with creating a sequel to the Crypt of the Necrodancer with a Zelda skin, they really wanted to take this rare opportunity to craft a love letter to Legend of Zelda. They wanted to take this absolutely phenomenal opportunity to create their own bite-sized Zelda experience, because that's what this is. This is a game, if you were craving a classic 2D Zelda game, this is the game for you. Cadence of Hyrule is not just a Necrodancer game, it's not just a roguelike. It is truly its own unique Zelda experience. Now let's get this out of the way. Cadence of Hyrule Crypt of the Necrodancer, featuring The Legend of Zelda, is an incredibly misleading title. The title leads one to assume it's merely what I feared it would be, a Zelda-skinned Necrodancer game. Yet what the game really is at its heart is a mini Zelda game infused with beat-matching combat and roguelite elements. An infusion that comes together to create something familiarly unique. Two strangers have appeared in Hyrule, one who is lost and one who seeks the throne. Cadence, the heroine of Necrodancer, and Octavo, his mysterious new foe who has captured the kingdom of Hyrule with his magical loot. Cadence, Link, and Zelda must come together to save Hyrule and send Cadence home. The premise is simple and very reminiscent of core Zelda games. Defeat 4 champions and collect 4 magical instruments to defeat Octavo and save Hyrule. As you begin, you will choose to play either as Link or Zelda. Once you have, you'll begin your rhythmic quest. Now I say rhythmic because the core gameplay, movement, and combat are very much intertwined with the rhythmic beat of the game's soundtrack. The game asks you to move on beat with the music. If you miss a beat, you are often putting yourself at a disadvantage, and the game will let you know. But if you manage to match the ever-changing music's rhythm, you're able to gain advantages in combat and gain greater loot drops from enemies. Enemies are also caught up in this toe-tapping habit. Each unique enemy type has their own specific moveset. that they are able to execute on rhythm. When I first began playing, this entire system was incredibly daunting. The need to keep on beat while also learning enemy patterns while simultaneously navigating past their choreographed attacks was a tad overwhelming, to be honest. However, once the beats clicked, once I understood how enemies worked, the game became incredibly satisfying. At times, it was a beautifully synchronized ballet of swords and spells. I became completely enthralled within the combat. Yet, all the while, there was still that pesky fact nagging at the back of my mind that this was still a roguelike game, and my fun would probably end sometime soon. Yet it never did. The game's roguelite elements were much lighter than I had initially expected. Where a traditional roguelite strips you of all money and items incurred through a run, this game keeps the Zelda theme of item discovery by only stripping you of limited use items, such as shovels, rings, torches, and boots. And of course, rupees. All of which are plentiful through the map and have countless variations that keep discovery interesting. In tradition with Zelda games, there are a bevy of items to discover that will help you on your quest, from a fire rod to a magical boomerang. All these items are permanent and don't require rediscovery, mainly because, unlike other roguelites, Cadence of Hyrule isn't run reliant. Instead of constantly replaying from level 1 and onwards every time you die, Cadence of Hyrule's overworld is procedurally generated yet persistent. This only bolsters the Zelda influences because instead of having to rediscover a new Hyrule upon death, it feels like you are truly exploring your own unique Hyrule that will only reset if you choose to start a new game. The entire world is filled with puzzles and experimentation. I would find myself incredibly frustrated not being able to access a certain chest or area, only to find myself later being able to use not only one newly discovered item to solve the problem, but maybe a combination of two items, or by utilizing an item in tandem with something in the environment. The game relishes the experimentation and discovery and throws it at you in abundance. I'm not quite sure how different the game's overworld becomes each time you create a new game, yet I imagine that this sense of discovery and excitement stays pretty fresh even on a second or maybe even third playthrough. Even if it doesn't, the music is enough to warrant a second playthrough in and of itself. Zelda is well known for its incredible compositions, its tunes are iconic and well known throughout gaming, and Cadence of Hyrule takes these classic tunes and flips them on their head, giving them various flares and twists that often caught me off guard and caused me to just sit there enjoying this new take on a classic song. Cadence of Hyrule is a delightful game that does not overstay its welcome, and it's honestly a miracle that this game even exists, because just a few years ago, I would never fathom that Nintendo would allow an indie developer to utilize one of its most popular IPs. And it's absolutely fantastic that the game came out the way it did, because it's truly a testament to the creativity and passion that some of these indie developers have. I'm hoping that this game coming out as good as it did shows Nintendo that they should do this more often. I would love Team Cherry, the developers of Hollow Knight, to be allowed to make a 2D Metroid game. That would be an absolute fan dream that I don't think will happen, but Nintendo, let's do it. All in all, I think I would recommend Cadence of Hyrule to any Zelda fan. It's a true classic Zelda experience with a unique twist on it, with roguelite elements that don't really intrude too much, but add a unique layer to gameplay that you're already well aware of. And even to non-Zelda fans, I would recommend this game merely for the music, and maybe we'll enjoy the new gameplay elements that come along with this game. I appreciate anybody who may be watching this video. I hope this video is a remarkable improvement over my last one. I did spend a lot more time making this video and effort making this video than the last video. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be doing next. I'm thinking about buying the new Leisure Suit Larry game and playing through that to do a review. We'll see if I do that. I might not. But whatever I do, I hope that it's better than this video, better than the last video. Each time I make a video, I want it to be an improvement on the last. So for anyone who might be watching these, Thank you very much for spending time with me and watching these, and I hope you have yourself a fantastic day.